Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. It's great to be here with you today on this second edition of our Cabral HouseCalls. Each and every Saturday and Sunday, I hope that you are able to tune in. We answer all of our community's questions during that time. Today will be like every other weekend, basically opening up the document, the big document of all of your questions and answering at least a half a dozen of our community's questions on all things wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, mindset, motivation, inspiration, health coaching, IHP, you name it. Happy to try to be of service to you. And the truth is this, is that I'm always going to give you my honest answer. And it will be unbiased, unaffected by anything else. And I just want you to know that, meaning like I'm never going to promote a product. I'm never going to promote a technology, any of those things if it's not the right thing I believe for you. So I look at this as like every person who writes in is a family member. That's the truth. And I'm just not going to tell you to do things that I wouldn't tell my own family member to do. So this is my way of not providing a diagnosis or treatment protocol or cure over a podcast. We don't do that. What we do is we look at what might be the underlying root causes holding you back from living your best life, from being healthy, from being happy, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's take a look at this week's questions. And the first question we are picking back up with is from Matt. If you want to tune in for today's questions, you can read along right over at stephencabral.com/1731. And you can even watch the video. We now have a video podcast 7 days a week. And that's always over on the show notes page, as well as YouTube, which is just my name, Stephen Cabral. Feel free to subscribe, follow along. Would love to have you for the journey. All right, Matt is up first. Let's see what Matt says. Hi, Dr. Cabral. We just think you're the man in our house. Thanks, Matt. Your no BS approach to delivering education and knowledge has made such a massive impact on our lives. Thank you. I've had trouble with psoriasis in the past. It had reduced over the years to only behind my ears. In recent times, I've developed various white patches on my legs, mainly. The hair on these patches has also turned white. These patches seem to be in places where I've had old scars, previous psoriasis, and even a birthmark. I recently received results from a hair tissue mineral analysis, which showed extensive food intolerances and vitamin deficiencies such as A, K, and E. Could you please give me some insight into what this might be caused from? My wife and I are planning to complete some of your protocols. Thank you for continued drive and passion. Matt, thank you for writing in. I'm going to grab my blue blockers here for a moment. Lot of the day staring at this computer screen and in lights, so we need to make sure we protect our eyes. All right, so let me answer this for you. I don't believe a hair tissue mineral analysis can tell you vitamin deficiencies, but it can tell you mineral deficiencies, okay? So you may or may not be low on A, K, and E. And those are all fat-soluble vitamins. So you have to be very careful supplementing extra of those. Meaning like, yes, you can use the daily nutritional support. Yes, you can use the daily activated multi, those types of things. But you don't typically want to go above 5,000 micrograms of vitamin A. Definitely not really 10,000 a day micrograms. It should be beta carotene as well. Unless you're working with a practitioner. And then, of course, they might have you do 100,000 for 3 days. But I don't do that, but some people do, and that's okay. Vitamin K, again, fat-soluble. Vitamin A, fat-soluble. So that just means they build up in your system. All right, poor fat absorption, poor fat breakdown could cause these things as well. And believe it or not, some people with psoriasis have poor fat absorption. So you want to make sure maybe that you're going a little lower fat in the beginning, but that you're using enzymes like lipase to help with the digestion initially. Now, lipase isn't any good digestive enzyme, daily digestive enzyme. You can use 2 or 3 of those with each meal. That would be fine. Probably not doing more than a couple tablespoons of fat for right now. But really, the reason you might not be digesting these well is that you're not producing enough stomach acid. Many people with psoriasis have low stomach acid. They allow proteins to come in, indigestion begins to putrefy in the intestines. It begins to seep out through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream and can cause psoriasis or autoimmune-based reactions, namely psoriasis. Another issue is that with low stomach acid, you can actually not produce then enough bile, because bile is mainly a adjunct or a partner with acid. So bile is a higher pH, and that higher pH helps to basically squelch the lower pH of the acidic food coming into your stomach, into the intestines. So they work really well together. But bile does something else. Bile actually helps to remove toxins from the body. So if all that bile is kind of congested in your gallbladder or in your liver and it's not moving anywhere, well, then that starts to become stagnant. So these are all reasons why psoriasis could come about. I've spoken about this before, and I want you to go back, and I also want you to look at previous shows on how two of the main things that really cause an issue with psoriasis are gut dysfunction, could be yeast overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, could be parasites, could be H. pylori. Maybe the H. pylori is causing the low stomach acid. And now you can find those out with a bacteria and parasite stool test. You can find that at Equilife, just EQUI.LIFE, or with a local practitioner, like one of our integrative health practitioners, level 2. And I would run a Candida metabolic and vitamins test to look for yeast overgrowth. So basically, two main things with psoriasis that I see every single time: gut dysfunction or just digestive dysfunction like we were talking about, coupled with stress. Higher levels of stress is the triggering factor, even on top of the digestive issues. Matt, I know you'll find your answer. Hopefully this was a good start. Stephanie is up. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've listened to pretty much all of your podcasts, including those where you were talking about low stomach acid. Well, here we go. See, I never read these questions ahead of time. Didn't even know this was going to come up. Thanks, Stephanie. Stephanie goes on to say, you've spoken about all the causes of low stomach acid and how to help it with digestive enzymes, ginger tea, etc. What about actually increasing stomach acid directly? Is it possible to do this naturally? Yes. First things first, make sure that you don't have H. pylori, right? If you have H. pylori, it's going to potentially cause acid reflux or lower your stomach acid. Really important because it disturbs the hydrogen levels in the stomach, causes inflammation in your stomach mucosa, can cause ulcers in your stomach, all right? Really common. H. pylori is super, super common. I've had it multiple times, unfortunately, but fortunately, I learned from it and got rid of it, which was great. And my youngest daughter got it when she got food poisoning, and she got it only at like 3 years old. And so we had to help her get rid of it. And we did, so, which was great. So the thing is, you should test for this. Stephanie, run the bacteria and parasite stool test, and that will look for H. pylori. And then if you don't have H. pylori, well, then you can certainly start to use betaine HCl or betaine HCl and pepsin. And always start at just one capsule. Should not be taken mid-meal or end of the meal. Should not be taken beginning of the meal or end of the meal. It should be taken mid-meal. So you take your betaine HCl and pepsin if you decide to take it with it, which will help to boost stomach acid, and you take that mid-meal. Now, you might work up to 3 or 4 capsules depending on the dosage. And after maybe a few weeks or a month, that 3 or 4 capsules actually might cause some burning in your stomach. So you say, okay, well, that's enough. And if that happens for a few days, you say, okay, well, my stomach is starting to now produce more of its own. And you might be able to begin to back off to then 2 capsules, and then of 1 capsule, and eventually no capsules. So that's one way to use that. If you ever produce too much stomach acid, you can literally just put a teaspoon of baking soda in a glass of water and slowly drink that down, and that will neutralize, that high pH will neutralize the acidity in the stomach. Don't do that ongoing, but it will work if you ever get too much stomach acid. What else can I recommend? Well, that's what I would do. And then, of course, I would make sure that you have enough good sodium in your diet, like good sea salt for sure, Himalayan sea salt, pink salt, rock salt, or Celtic salt. And the good sea salt contains all the trace minerals plus NaCl, which is sodium chloride, and that chloride will help to build up the stomach acid as well. I know a lot of people naturally get it from eating cucumbers and juicing celery, and you could certainly do that as well, and that works too. So Stephanie, hopefully that was helpful. Micey is up next, M-I-C-Y. Hello, Dr. Cabral. Is it possible to get histamine toxicity from a probiotic supplement? Example, 100 billion CFU. Michael, I know this is you. you've written in with this a couple times now. I've answered them on the previous podcasts the last 2 weeks. Actually, it was last week. It was the episode like 1724 or so. I just remember that off the top of my head. Hopefully that's correct. But so remember, if your question has not been answered, it takes about 6 weeks for me to answer it. Again, I'll get to all of them. I answer every single question. So it just takes about 6 weeks. And that's it. So we're answering questions on September 27th, and it's basically the end of October right now, right? Let's see. Today is 10/31, and this show, 1731 is the name of the episode. And today is actually November 1st. All right, well, there we go. So we're just about 5 weeks behind. Easy. All right, Lou's up next. Dear Dr. Cabral, I love your show. Thank you for putting your word out there. I'm a member of my local Weston A. Price Foundation chapter and attended a workshop where one of the speakers, Morley Robbins, aka Magnesium Man, shared his research on minerals. In a nutshell, he claims that humans have excess unbound iron and are severely copper deficient. That serum iron measures the empty iron transporters, giving us a false reading. He asserts most of us have chronic magnesium deficiencies. His research shows that retinal deficiencies cause abnormal metabolism of iron, that excess unbound iron and stored vitamin D create destructive hydroxyl radicals, among other negative reactions. All that to say, he states that a lack of ceruloplasm, that protein that transports copper, is a vital part of human health, and most often the culprit in MS, autoimmune, fatigue, depression, anxiety, hormone imbalances. In layman terms, he says our livers are toxic with excess iron and cannot make enough ceruloplasm to transport bioavailable copper, causing most chronic disease. This is a tall order. I've heard most of your podcasts, and this is an area you don't speak of, and since you are my go-to source of wellness information, I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much. All right, Lou. Again, I don't know this person. I mentioned their name. I apologize. There's no derogatory remarks here, and I have no doubt that this person is amazingly brilliant. There's no way that excess iron and this lack of copper is the thing responsible for the main culprit in MS, autoimmune, fatigue, depression, anxiety, hormone imbalances, everything else in the world. It's simply not true. I mean, it's simply not true. Like, that's just the bottom line. So I don't even know how to state that in any other way, except that we know that it's not true. And the reason is that people recover using mold protocols, liver detoxification, gut-based protocols, parasite protocols, electrolyte rebalancing, and it's not about copper and it's not about iron. We didn't do anything specific for those things. Now, does iron matter? Absolutely. Does copper matter? Absolutely. If anything, though, we see a lot more copper toxicity in our practice than we do a lack of copper. And by telling people to use more copper probably wouldn't be a good idea, because what happens is it further drives down zinc. And zinc is one of the main things that we need for our immune system and hormones and tissue repair, etc. So I am totally on board with the magnesium. I think most people are functionally deficient in magnesium and they need more magnesium. Most people minimum need to supplement with 200-300 milligrams a day minimum of magnesium. There's no doubt about that. So I agree with you on that, okay? I'm with you on that. I can't get behind the iron. I can't get behind the copper, although in some cases it could be the case, but certainly not in the majority of cases. The labs, the literature, the research, it does not point to that at all. And the truth is, it's never the silver bullet. I just want to let you know, it's never a silver bullet. Because I hear it all the time. A lack of this one thing is why we have cancer. It's not. It's never one thing. The closest thing we might come is vitamin D, right? I mean, honestly, vitamin D is one of those big panaceas. So is vitamin C. So is magnesium. And I would even put zinc more towards that category now. So, and we use something called balanced zinc, which contains the right amount of zinc to copper, because we know that they're both very important. All right. So again, no disrespect at all. No disrespect at all. It's just we have a huge data pool, and people get well without ever working on those things. Michael says, hello, Dr. Cabral. Can a probiotic cause dysbiosis? I'm laughing, Michael, because I've been answering your questions on probiotics, and I'm happy to do that. But I've answered these the past couple of weeks, and they are exactly the same. So again, I've answered all of those questions, and implement what I've talked about on the last couple podcasts, answers for you, and then absolutely come back with more questions as well. And I'll be there for you, and I want to answer those as well for you. No doubt about it. So just let me know. But only write in the question once, allow me to answer it, and then I'm happy to do follow-ups as well. All right, Tina's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm currently on the end of the CBO protocol, and I found it has helped a lot with my digestive issues and bloating. However, I seem to have bloating in my lower stomach. Over the past 6 to 8 months, I've also seemed to put on around 25 to 30 pounds despite eating healthy and exercising. I'm in my mid-20s. I was doing some research into hypothyroidism and feel as though I might be experiencing it. I did do a hormone test with your clinic, but my hormone numbers didn't ring any major alarm bells. My main symptoms are loss of period for 2 to 3 years, weight gain, very swollen lymph nodes in the neck, water retention, puffy face, fatigue, dry skin in my face, very sensitive to the cold, but sweat easily, loss of motivation and sadness. My minerals test with your clinic showed I had low selenium as well. My question is, if I'm looking to lose weight, is something such as your Fatlocity diet and workout plan going to be safe for me to do? I do very well with structure and find the manual you wrote for Fatlocity very extensive, which I love. I'm worried, however, that I may stress my body too much. However, my cortisol levels came back okay on my test. I've struggled with controlling my sugar lately as well, and I feel like I'm not living in my own body. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something deeper going on, Tina, so thank you for writing in. I appreciate you. And there's something deeper going on. So the real giveaway is you put on 25 to 30 pounds without, while still eating well and exercising, and cold hands, cold feet, a little bit of brain fog, not a lot of ambition, dry skin, water retention, puffiness. And again, I can't give you this diagnosis, but it certainly sounds like you're dealing with some lower or hypothyroid-based issues. So here's the thing. We want to look at it like, do you feel stressed? Like, that's a big part of this. So the labs matter. The labs matter. There's no doubt about it. But do you feel stressed? Because if you do, you may actually want to work on some more calming-based activities in life. Meditation, yoga, journaling, using the adrenal soothe during the day, maybe a little extra magnesium during the day. And yes, you very well may need the daily thyroid support, especially if your selenium levels are low. So by using 2 capsules at breakfast and 2 capsules of dinner of the daily thyroid support, you give yourself a little bit of a boost. That's the nice thing. Now, Fatlocity can be used in conjunction with this, but you don't even have to go with big workouts or anything like that. You can just use the nutritional supplement plan, which is going to help with your circadian rhythm, and it will help with the nutrition plan too. Now, first things first, before you start Fatlocity, I would do the 21-day functional medicine detox, all right? Our community calls it the Dr. Cabral detox, but really it's the Equal Life detox. That's what it is. It's a functional medicine detox. So I would do that. I would do the daily thyroid support, okay? Do that for about a month, okay? The detox can be 7, 14, or 21 days. 21 days if you've never done it before. You can then start to work on the thyroid right away in conjunction with the detox. You could use the daily thyroid support. You're going to use something to help with sleep at night if you need it. Adrenal soothe during the day if you need to calm the stress levels. And I would calm stress overall in lifestyle. And then what else can I give you for advice? And then afterwards, then you could use the Fatlocity in month 2 or after 6 weeks or so. So hopefully, Tina, that gets you started in the right place. All right. This is from M. M says, I was diagnosed with symphysis pubis dysfunction during my first day pregnancy. As far as I understand it, it means my body produces too much relaxin, causing the symphysis in the pubic bone to become too loose. It caused me a loss of hip, pelvis, sciatic nerve problems, or a lot, that resolved after I delivered. I'm in my 2nd pregnancy and have been doing daily yoga and stretches as I've been directed, but was wondering if there's something more I can do. Thanks in advance. Well, this is one of those that I'm not going to be able to give you a lot of pinpoint advice on it. And the reason is, well, one, there's not a lot of research behind it, but then also there is this is when genetics there is some component to it of how your body acts when pregnant, how your body is shaped in terms of your hip shape, but also there is something that you can do in terms of balance. One of the big things that I try to help women with, especially in my previous life working in fitness, that I always made sure to make sure that the psoas muscles were extended and loose, meaning like that they were open so that other parts of the body didn't need to compensate. And this might be what's happening for you. So you said you started to do some daily yoga stretches. Well, something like the warrior pose or anything that stretches that psoas muscle is going to be really helpful. Also the TFL muscle, those are basically what's called flexor muscles, right? So we want to extend the flexors. Now at the same time, you can't do this while pregnant because you can't be in a bridge position. It's just not ideal, but you want to be able to strengthen your glutes in some way. So you want to actually tighten the glute muscles and you want to be able to open the front of the body, which is called the anterior chain. So extending the abdomen muscles, the transverse abdominis, the rectus abdominis, opening up the inguinal muscles, like in the hips where the hip flexors are, can be tremendously helpful. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, well, that is our time for today. I just looked down. We're at the 20-minute mark. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for tuning into another house call. It goes by fast, at least for me. Hopefully you enjoy them. Of course, each and every weekend, we are answering your questions. And of course, if this was helpful, please do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. And tomorrow, I'll be back with another Mindset and Motivation Monday. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to StephenCabral.com/rainbarrel.